Got a 2007 SI in for Kraftwerks kit. Certainly on an all motor setup. Drag Cartel 3.2s. Ported RBC manifold by Bad Guys. Clever Racing short ram intake. Skunk 2 headers. RDX injectors. So here's the whole kit. Here's the supercharger itself. All the parts that came with it. I actually bought this separate. This is going to be for the blow-off valve, the bracket, all the intercooler piping, the belt, all the accessory stuff that comes with it. The filter for the supercharger. We got the intake down there. Some other stuff in there. So the first thing you guys want to do with these kits is obviously, remove the intake manifold, remove your intake, remove anything right here out of the way. Obviously, you got to take off this AC line also. Make sure you guys get it discharged. I already got mine discharged. So yeah, do all this, remove all this, fuel rail, everything. So we got everything off. We got the intake manifold off with the throttle body. We got all the harness out of the way. We also got the idler pulley, the auto tensioner, serpentine belt out of the way. Here's the serpentine belt. Here's the intake manifold, the throttle body, the tensioner, the idler pulley up there. Let's go to the next. As you guys can see, I got the intake manifold on. I had a K-Tune throttle body before, so I'm running it. Also, I do have an issue with this K-Tune fuel rail. It appears that it might not work. I might have to go with the OEM one, especially the fuel pressure regulators gauge down here is really close to the runner right there, and it's hitting, so it's not meeting up, as you guys can see. So I'm probably gonna get an OEM one. But yeah, the intake manifold's on, throttle body's on. This is the PVC valve. The new hose comes included, so we're gonna see where that routes to. So guys, this is the first bracket that's gonna attach to the water pump housing, and this is the tensioner bracket. There's the part number right there. So you guys want to make sure you tighten up that bolt. There's another one in between in the middle and one in the back. There's 3 bolts, and then also this one, make sure this one's tight also. And then lastly, you guys put on the tensioner, tighten that, and make sure on your guys' tensioner this is all the way down. So I'm over here working on the actual supercharger with the main bracket. Here's the 4 Allen bolts that are go. I'm on this page. So this is going to be the next step. So supercharger's on, fully tight. So I put it at the lowest position, as you guys can see. It's the lowest position. You can adjust it higher, but I left it at the lowest position. I've heard of people having clearance issues with the top position, so I left it at the lower position. So yeah, it's just these 2 bolts, and then this one on the upper with the spacer. Don't forget the spacer. And yeah, it is on. So I went ahead and put back the OEM fuel rail, which really bums me out because it looks very ugly. But yeah, as you can see, this kit's mainly meant for the OEM fuel rail. As you guys can see, the K-Tune sat way too close and it would hit this bracket and also this bolt. So got that on. So yeah, you need to run the OEM one unless somebody knows what other fuel rail. But injectors on, 1000 cc grams. The pigtails are on. Yeah, so I have the intercooler on. So one thing I started doing the pipey also for the cold side to up top here. One thing I did notice that I had the intercooler tight, so I ended up loosening it because you are gonna have to play with it. So leave it loose, and yeah, it'll go on there. Clearance is pretty good. It's not hitting nothing out of the chassis. So this side's pretty good, as you guys can see down there. One thing I don't like is these clamps. I wish they would have came with T-bolt clamps instead, but it's all right, make it work. So I started doing this side of the intercooler piping, and man, this side is the most, I want to say, hardest thing of the whole install so far. Very tight fit, This AC line right here, I did have to use a pry bar to move it. Kind of is touching, but it's manageable. It's in there for sure. It's pretty tight. So you guys can see right there. But yeah, very tight fit. I could definitely see why they're not using T-bolts on this kit now. The T-bolt in there would be very, very hard to fit. Got the blow valve installed. So that's the inlet going towards the piping. And that's your outlet shooting back up. All the way back up towards the intake manifold. Up top, as you guys can see. Also, don't forget to run your guys' vacuum line up to the top of the intake manifold. I rather mine all the way up top. So I just finished up installing all the oil cooler lines for the supercharger. So the canister is on, it's bolted down. So this line, you route it to the front of the oil cooler. And then this line goes to the, routed around here, goes to the out position of the supercharger. And in the bottom for the canister slash reservoir, you know, route it around, boom, right here. You bolt it up to the inline filter. And then from here, you route it all up to the front of the inlet of the supercharger. It's supercharger belt's on. As you guys can see, there's an extra groove. Make sure you guys put the belt on the furthest grooves out towards the fender, the passenger side. As you can see down there on the alternator also on the AC compressor down there, it's very hard. And also on the crank pulley, it has to be all towards the fender on the passenger. And this is a 17mm bolt, and you want to use, I used a wrench with the supporting bar and moved it all the way back, and it gave me enough leverage to get it on. And over here, this bolt that you can adjust the tensioner also, I left it alone for now. I'm gonna see how it runs like that, and if I do have to do some adjustments, I will come back to this. It's installed. All I need left is to pressurize the oil system. So to do that, you guys just want to make sure you fill this up between the mid point of the dipstick, and then you guys are going to get compressed air about 15 psi or less. You guys are going to pressurize this, and you guys want to have the inlet open while that's, you know, pressurizing the system. And until it starts leaking out, you close this up.